Okay, so the equations that you're given are going to be parabolas, and they represent the height of the object. So to get a feel for what this is looking like, if I were to substitute 0 in for time, 3 plus 13 times 0 minus 5 times 0 is 3. So at time 3, we're at time 0, we're at a height of 3. So see how the object is already off the ground? Okay, but then 1 second goes by, so it gets thrown up here. If I substitute in 1, 3 plus 13 times 1 minus 5 times 1 squared, we're going to end up with, what is that, 8, 9, 10, 11. So at time 1, it'll be at a height of 11. So it's going to keep going up, keep going up, keep going up. It's going to be at the highest it ever is. And then it's going to come down, come down, come down, and eventually the height of the ball is 0. If you ever are asked when does the ball hit the ground, you have to think about that for a second. What is the height of the ball when it hits the ground? It would be a height of 0. Okay, but in this particular case, it wants to know when is the ball at a height of 8 feet. Now, just looking at the picture, we can tell that's going to happen in 2 different spots because it started off at a height of 3, and so it's going to be on its way up. It'll be at a height of 8, keeps getting higher, 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 comes down, and it will be at a height of 8 again. So I know I'm going to end up with 2 answers. It's kind of good for you to get a general idea before you start tackling the problem, how many answers there are. If this platform, for example, was up at 20 feet, and I said, when is it 8 feet? Well, if it's already up at 20 feet, it's going up, 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 and it's only going to be, when it comes down at a height of 8 feet, 1 time. And so one of the answers will end up getting thrown out. Okay, so diving into the math here, if the height is 8, I'm just going to replace the h in the equation here with the number 8. I have a quadratic equation, and the only way that I can solve a quadratic is, well, a surefire way to solve a quadratic is to use the quadratic formula, but that requires me to rewrite the equation to look like ax squared plus bx plus c equal to 0. So I'm going to move these pieces around. For no particular reason, I'm going to move all the terms to the left. It just made writing it easier. So I'm going to add 5t squared, I'm going to subtract 13t, and I'm going to subtract 3. When I do that, I end up with this, and it now equals 0. And since my quadratic now equals 0, I'm ready to use the quadratic formula. Just to highlight my a, my b, and my c, the a is 5, the b is 13, and the c is 5. And then using my formula, negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Let's start putting those numbers in there. So negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared. Notice good notation. Every place there used to be a letter in the quadratic formula, I put in a set of parentheses, minus 4a, so that's the 5, c, which is this 5 here, all over 2a, so 2a. Then I'm going to go ahead and just simplify what's underneath the root. So taking negative 13 times negative 13, I get 169. And then negative 4 times 5 is going to be minus 100. So 169 minus 100 is going to be 69. The negative 13 is 13, and 2 times 5 is 10. For these ones, they would like to have an estimate rather than an exact answer. So I'm going to grab my calculator, and I'm going to enter in 2 separate items. I'm going to do the 13 plus root 69 over 10 and 13 minus root 69 over 10. Remember, when you use your calculator, you want to put an extra set of parentheses around the numerator and the denominator. and you want to put a set of parentheses around whatever's underneath the root. Now, I did not put an extra set of parentheses around the denominator because it was simply the number 10. So I don't need that extra set, but it won't hurt if you put it in there. So notice I put a set of parentheses around my numerator, and I have 13 plus the square root. As soon as I type square root, I need to put a set of parentheses around what's underneath there, and that parenthesis there is coming from the parenthesis in the front that's grouping the numerator together. Divided by 10. Again, if you want to put an extra set around the denominator, you sure can. You hit enter, and I get about 2.13. Do the same thing, except for instead of put a plus, put a minus. And so if I do 13 minus the square root of 69 divided by 10, I end up with 0.47. The meaning of our answer is that at time 0.47 seconds, the height of the object is 8. And at time 2.13 seconds, the height of the object is also 8. So please keep in mind on these problems, because I didn't do any extra examples, if it says when does the ball hit the ground, what they're telling you is to use 0 for the height. Or if you use your quadratic formula and you end up getting a positive answer and a negative answer, you're going to throw out the negative answer because time is not going to be negative. And the reason that happens is because the platform is taller than the height they want it to be. So it's only going to be that height one time.